Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. As promised, I'm going to be reviewing Midsommar. If you haven't seen the movie yet, I strongly suggest you watch it before watching this video because there's going to be spoilers, and I hate when people spoil movies for me, so I don't want to do it to somebody else. After I first watched Midsommar, I thought it was your typical cliche. Pagans are evil and creepy. And I will say that I was focusing heavily on the imagery, specifically when the group was under the influence of the psychedelics, because the things that you were seeing were kind of like as if you were taking psychedelics. The trees were breathing, the grass and foliage was basically growing through or around Danny. You saw the green man, and when she's sitting in the chair, the leaves start reacting to her movements. So there was a lot of this strange imagery going on that I actually thought it was breathtaking and beautiful. So yeah, I think I missed a bunch of stuff. Because when I was doing my research on the film, I found a few pagans who felt differently than me. Some actually loved this movie, and others didn't really see anything pagan in this movie, while others did take offense to the film. So I decided to watch the film again to see what I may have missed, if I missed anything at all. And during my second watch through, I can honestly say I basically did a 360. I found the people of the Harga or Horga to have similarities to pagans of ancient times and of today. Now, paganism, the term is different from person to person, which I think is kind of funny. So for some people, they think that paganism is just the Celtic faith, like that culture, and what they believe in. And then there's others who think that any unorganized faith is pagan. And others think that any non-Christian faith is pagan. And then you have people who think that any nature-based faith is pagan. And then you have people like me, who think that any polytheistic, nature-based faith is pagan. So it's kind of a debated topic. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going by my personal feelings on what paganism is, which is polytheistic, nature-based. And the Horga or Harga talk about the celebrations of the seasons, which is known as solstices and also equinoxes. And that is what pagans celebrate today. We do celebrate the solstice. There's actually two of them, and there's also two equinoxes. And in this movie, they are celebrating the summer solstice, or Midsommar. And Wiccans also follow that as well. And they are very nature-based, as you can tell with their picking of flowers, how they have all these flowers, they have flower headdresses, like headbands, and there's all this type of nature-based things, like especially the maypole was, again, very nature, because you have all these like flowers and things. So what I thought was kind of weird though, with it being very nature-based and you have them celebrating the similar holidays, you don't really hear them talk about a god or goddess, which is very different from pagan or Wiccan faiths, because they do worship gods and goddesses and we have gods and goddesses for everything. We got one for love, we got one for fertility, we got them for magic and storms, thunder, lightning, rain. So it was kind of weird that you never heard them talk about a god or goddess. And I thought what was even odder was how they mentioned this story during the the Maypole dance contest, but you don't know if it's just a legend or a story about their goddess. So I wasn't quite sure what they were. So I can actually understand why some pagans didn't really see them as pagan, because there's that big missing part to their culture. During the olden times, many pagan cultures did have human sacrifices. So that was accurate in what they depicted in the movie. So while I was watching the ending, the people mentioned how every 90 years they would sacrifice 9 humans, which reminded me of the show Vikings, because when Vikings came out and I saw this episode where they were showing the sacrifices, I was curious if the Nordic people really did have human sacrifice, because not every polytheistic culture had sacrifices, human sacrifices, that is. So I wasn't sure if the Vikings really did have human sacrifice or not, or if it was just something the show put in just because it's what everyone thinks about paganism and polytheistic faiths, that they all had human sacrifice. So I did do some research, and I found during my research that Nordic pagans sacrificed 9 males of livestock and humans every 9 years, which was similar to what was depicted with the Horga village, or Harga village. I believe the reason why it was every 9 years for the Nordic people was to keep the population in check, because otherwise they would have been overpopulated, which would have made it difficult to feed and shelter so many people, especially during the harsh winter months. And I would have thought the same for the Horga village if it wasn't for it being every 90 years. Because if you think about how long a woman could give birth for how many years. So women, in a sense, can start having babies when they hit puberty. So from puberty age all the way up to their 50s, 60s, they can have children. I know 60s is kind of rare, but some women they don't go through menopause right away. They don't go through menopause the same age. So some women go through menopause at a younger age than others, and I have heard of a few women giving birth in their 60s. So that's a long time period. And if you have 10 women who are able to produce children in 30, 40 years, or even 50 years, that's a long time period. And that's a lot of babies. If you got 9 women or 10 women who give birth, let's say once every year or a year and a half, that's a lot of babies. So they would be overpopulated in no time. Even with bringing in outside people to procreate with. And I feel like the movie depicted the outsiders or American people as being ignorant and disrespectful to their customs and culture. For instance, instead of finding a bathroom, Mark urinates on the Horga's sacred tree and doesn't even understand why the people are upset. And instead of, feeling horrible about what he did, he just brushes it off by saying it's just a dead tree. Like, I don't believe in this shit. It's fucking crazy, so why do I care? And that is so ignorant. And then you have Christian, who instead of waiting for the others to eat, because in their culture you have to wait for the elders, who are the leaders, to start eating first before you start. Christian says, well, fuck that, and he starts eating his meat pie. And then you have Josh, who you would think it would be respectful of this group because he's an anthropology student and he's studying this for his thesis. But no, he's actually just as ignorant and disrespectful as his friends, because he doesn't understand why he can't take photos of their sacred book and sneaks off to do it anyways. The only ones that I truly felt kind of bad for was the couple who were upset by the suicide the elder couple committed, because they just wanted to leave after witnessing something traumatic. And I know their reaction was kind of aggressive because they were screaming at these people like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you think this is okay? But I think any one of us would have been the same way if we weren't just in shock, because it's not something we're used to. It's not something that we see every day. It's not part of our culture. And I did do some research on that, and I found that there is no evidence in history that something like this actually occurred. So I think the filmmaker just put it in for shock value. The message for me, what it seemed like this movie was trying to portray, was to have more respect for those who are different instead of just looking down on another faith or individual. And most of the outsiders seem to have committed some form of disrespect to this group of people. Apart from Danny, she seemed to be like the only one who gave them respect and treated them with true like compassion and kindness. She didn't agree with everything they did, but she never badmouthed them or went against their practices. And because she showed more compassion and kindness to these people, they welcomed her with open arms. And it kind of had a touching ending to me, because she felt so alone in the beginning of the film, and she was utterly alone when her family died. I mean, Christian didn't try to comfort her when she was worried about her sister. And he was even thinking about breaking up with her because he was sick of dealing with her stuff. And he just wanted to have fun and freedom and just have a grand old time because he's in college and he just wants to enjoy the college life. But unfortunately with relationships, you're not going to always have rainbows and sunshine 24/7. There's going to be hardships. Sometimes your partner gets some bad news. Sometimes something weird is going on with a family member or a friend, and you want some compassion. You want somebody to tell you that everything's going to be okay, that you're not overreacting. Maybe to even give you some advice or just to hear you out. So I thought he was just a jerk, to be honest. I didn't like his character at all. He didn't honestly show any compassion for her when her family died. He went to a party or was leaving for a party and she offered to go with him, and he said, no, you should stay here and get some rest. Kind of brushing her off. And he doesn't remember her birthday when they've been together for 3.5 years. He also made it seem like Danny was overreacting when she was upset that he didn't tell her about the trip to Sweden he was taking with his friends until last minute. And to me, that's kind of just gaslighting, in all honesty. When you make assumptions about somebody, like you say that they're crazy for feeling a certain way, it's gaslighting. He just seemed like a toxic individual. Especially with his friends, too. I mean, he didn't understand why Josh was upset that he wanted to do his thesis on the same topic. I mean, Josh had been researching the topic before the Sweden trip and was writing his thesis on this way before Christian even got this idea in his head. Christian just didn't seem like he thought about anybody but himself. And Danny finally basically goes from this place where she has no one to finally being welcomed into this community who treat her like family. And they care about her. I mean, they cry with her. They laugh with her. That is, I thought was amazing to have, especially when sometimes you need that. I did read some reviews by people that felt that Christian's name wasn't an accident. I guess some people believe that the filmmaker named Christian based on the religion's attitude towards anyone who is unique and their self-centered attitudes. I don't know if I completely agree with this, because some Christians are not like that. I mean, granted, most of the Christians I've interacted with in real life have treated people who are LGBTQ+ or of another faith horribly, along with being very self-centered, unwilling to help anyone of another religion or who isn't straight or cisgender. But I don't think the filmmaker did that, like, because I didn't see Christian being that way, and not all Christians are like that. Just because I've been around a lot of those types of people doesn't mean that's who all Christians are. Because I actually have talked to a lot of Christians that don't think like that. Or they keep that type of stuff to themselves. They don't kind of scream and shout at every single person that comes out as gay or trans. So I don't think that's accurate. What are your thoughts on the movie? Did you like or dislike the film? What did you think of Christian's character? Do you agree with the other reviewers that he's a representation of Christian people? Let me know in the comments, because I'm curious if, like, what other people think of this Christian character. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more content. If you're tired of missing new videos, click that bell icon to keep up on all your spooky content that is uploaded. Take care until next time. Thanks again, everybody.